All right, welcome back, grade 11. It's a beautiful day to be alive. This week we are going to do a specialty dessert. And it just so happens that this specialty dessert comes from France, as does many of our baking techniques. This is a very traditional dessert and one of my personal favorites. It's creme brulee. You may have heard of this before. It's obviously a dessert containing cream and it gets broiled. It's the brulee part at the end. It contains sugar on top of it that you caramelize. So it's something like a very rich vanilla pudding made from scratch with a caramel, a thin layer of caramel on top that you get to break through to. So some specialty desserts include, that we would have learned about in class: creme brulee, creme caramel, which is very similar to creme brulee, but you take it out of its dish. Chocolate mousse, which is very good too, but I'm just making creme brulee because I need to eat it afterwards, and this is one I love. Bavarian cream, just in the same family as some of these other desserts. It contains cream, whipping cream, and gelatin and fruit usually. And a number of frozen desserts, such as ice cream, frozen yogurt, gelato. These are all considered specialty desserts. So let's get into it today with creme brulee, my favorite out of the selection. Very simple and easy dessert if you follow the recipe, and it contains just some basic bake shop ingredients: heavy cream or whipping cream. Alright, you do need to use a heavy cream. You can get away with using half cereal or coffee cream, but try and use as much 35% heavy cream as possible. You can use either vanilla pods or vanilla extract. I've got some pure vanilla extract here today. Some sugar, or if you have some raw sugar cane, you can use that at home too, or turbinado. But you do need a granulated dry sugar. You need a number of egg yolks, so you'll have to separate your eggs. Don't be worried if you get a little bit of whites in with your yolks. That's not going to be detrimental or ruin your recipe. You can always hang on to your whites too if you want to do an egg white omelet or do some kind of meringue cooking afterwards. You need a blowtorch, or you can use the broiler in your oven, but it's not as ideal. And you need a number of ramekin dishes. You can use ceramic or glass. And you'll need a casserole dish to put your ramekins in, because you're going to create a water bath to cook your custards in. Alright, so the first few steps that we're going to start with will be getting our cream heated on the stovetop. So we're going to use almost 2 of these to get our 4 cups of cream. In the recipe it will refer to 2 quarts, but that is 4 cups. Okay, in imperial measurements. And in metric measurements, that's 1,000 milliliters. Right? That's how much cream we need. You can make it slightly less fat or lower fat by using some cereal cream or coffee cream along with this. Heavy cream is really the best. So we'll get that heated up. We're going to crack our 6 eggs, just using the yolks in our bowl, and we're going to whisk that together, cream it together with our white sugar. It does refer to divided sugar because we're not going to use the entire cup in the recipe for the custard itself. We're going to use some of the white sugar for the top of the brulees. With the vanilla, we can add that while the cream is heating. Alright, our cream is heating up with our vanilla added into it, 1 tablespoon, and our 6 yolks are in the bowl with our half cup of sugar. If you like it a little sweeter, you can add a bit more, or if you don't want so sweet of a creme brulee, add maybe, I don't know, 1/3 of a cup. Alright, so we're going to whisk this together. You can use a whisk, electric mixer, a fork, whatever you've got in your kitchen.
Wouldn't you know my little helper is back and he stole my French scarf. Are you ready to help?
While we are waiting for our cream to heat up and our egg yolks and sugar are all set, we'll set them aside. Let's talk a little bit more about creme brulees. It is a baked custard dessert, so it coagulates or it thickens in the oven. You can also make custard or puddings on the stove top by thickening them with the heat from the top of your stove, right? And we're using a very gentle baking method where we're using a bain-marie or a water bath. A water bath technique or a bain-marie technique is similar to using a double boiler, which we may or may not have done in class, but this is when you place a heat-proof bowl on top of a pot with steaming water or hot water, simmering water. The heat from the water creates a gentle heating method for whatever's in your double boiler or your bowl. Now that our cream has heated up, we're going to add it to the egg yolk and sugar mixture. And don't forget we have our vanilla in here as well. We cannot go ahead and dump all of the hot cream right into the egg mixture right away because that will cook the egg or curdle it. So we're going to use a technique called tempering, and this is just gradually bringing the temperature of the egg mixture up to the temperature of the cream, right? So you're going to start off by putting a few drops or a few pours in, giving it a stir a couple of times, a couple of these rounds, and then you can pour the rest of your cream in. Okay, so with a rubber spatula, I'm just going to put a drizzle in there, just a quick stir, another drizzle. And if you do end up with any clumps, you can pass the new mixture through a kitchen sieve or strainer. Okay, you just need to do that a couple times, then you don't have to be as overly cautious. There we go. Something important to note as well, you can bake creme brulee in many different dishes. It doesn't need to be of this size. It can be a bit more shallow and wide. It could be in a big tart pan. Sometimes that's called a flan. So look around your kitchen to see what kind of dishes you have that are oven safe and that you might be able to do your creme brulee in. At this point, you can also taste your cream and egg mixture to see if it's to your liking, if it's sweet enough, if it has enough vanilla flavor, and you can certainly alter it. We've got our custard poured into our ramekins and our hot water poured in. We've got a little bit of foam on top of the custards from mixing the custard mixture, especially when we mix the egg yolk and the sugar. So one easy way to get rid of that foam and those bubbles is to spoon it out, just so you have a nice smooth top, or you can use your blowtorch and it will get rid of your foam or your bubbles. So that's what I'm going to do quickly. Remember, righty-tighty to turn off your flame. So I've just loosened it up to the left. So I'm just going to hover above these and get rid of my bubbles. So these are ready to go into the oven. I think they bake for about 30 or 40 minutes. I'll have to double check the recipe. But you can check them nearing the end of the bake time to see that they have a bit of a jiggle. It's still going to be a fairly loose jiggle, but that they will have started to set up, kind of like Jell-O. They'll continue to set up as they cool as well. Also wanted to mention a somewhat perhaps healthier option and something that's summer friendly is a fruit brulee. So I'm not sure how this is showing up on camera, but you can use any varieties of fruit that you have at home. I just had frozen strawberry, so I've thawed those and I've put a yogurt on top. This works best with Greek yogurt, like a really thick yogurt. I only had 2% yogurt, so ideally you have a thick yogurt which you can add sweetener to, or maybe it's already pre-sweetened, and you're going to do the same brûlée sugar coating on top. So it's a no-bake option and kind of summer friendly. Our brûlées or custards are out of the oven, still very hot, so I'm going to let them sit for a couple of minutes, then put them on a cooling rack and let them cool down to room temperature before I put the sugar on top of them and broil them. We are back and it's a beautiful day still. We've got our custards all set up. I'm just going to broil one right now because I don't want to eat them all right now, and don't broil them until you're ready to serve them. So keep them in the fridge just as custards until you're ready to serve them, and then put your sugar and broil them with the torch or in the oven. I like to serve my creme brulees room temperature, so I take them out of the fridge a little bit beforehand and let them warm up. I mean, I would eat a cold creme brulee, but I prefer when they're a little bit more on the warmer room temperature side. Anyways, so let's get going. Shouldn't necessarily have some color on there, but I kept them in a bit longer, so my bad. But the only bruleed part should be the sugar on top. So I've got my other half cup of sugar, but I'm only going to use probably about a tablespoon or so right now. I'm going to put a very healthy amount. Okay, spread it all the way around. And you could put a metal sheet underneath too. Now I'm going to light my torch. And carefully, you could wear an oven glove. I do have one, but I'm used to doing this, but I'm going to hold my torch back a bit, and I'm moving it around and I'm rotating my custard at the same time. This is so that I don't get one burnt part. I want my sugar to start to melt first. You can hear that crackling. And it kind of smells like burnt sugar a little bit, but you want it to get dark. The more sugar you put on there, the thicker layer of caramel you're going to get, but it will, you might end up with some dry sugar underneath. It doesn't get melted in some burnt spots. So perfect amount of sugar. Okay, and that caramel will form within 30 seconds to 1 minute. So let's pause. I'll come back and show you how you crack into this beauty. Lovely. Let's get a close-up for this. The piece de résistance. Okay, so you should be able to hear a nice crack. Oh, delicious. Oh my goodness. Like you're breaking through ice. Okay. And you've got your vanilla custard underneath and caramel on top. Great to share with a friend or a loved one because it's quite rich. Pure cream and sugar. Enjoy. Should I take a bite? Okay. Very yummy.